Hey there, true believers. Welcome once again to another thrilling episode of True Believers. We're going to talk about the new Star Trek movie, as well as a few other movies that have come out or are coming out. And we're going to look at a little bit of the history of the Star Trek comic. They were produced by Marvel Comics and other publications. We'll be looking at Marvel's Star Trek issue number 9. Joining me today is Reggie from Reggie's Take.
Hello.
How's it going, Reggie?
Oh, it's going all right. Suffering through the hot weather, work, bills,
just
work,
trying every day.
life.
Just trying every day not to take that gun to my temple and blowing my brains out. Just every day it's a struggle not to walk up to the sink with a knife and slit my wrists into the water. How are you doing?
Wow, I'm not quite sure if I should call 911 for that or laugh at that. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not either. Let's get right into it. You just showed me you showed me a bunch of trailers, and we talked about, on your podcast, we talked about
Kong Skull Island,
Wonder Woman, and the Justice League.
But as you said, we're kind of surprised they put one out for
it. It really is weird. It really is. What a weird world we live in, where they're already showing us a trailer for this
for a movie that's 17 months out from being even hit in theaters. Yeah, it's really weird.
But we forgot one trailer, Doctor Strange. So we're going to talk about that.
With Benedict Cumberbatch.
My gosh,
that movie looks like, at least a teaser trailer, at least in my mind, looks like it's Inception meets Harry Potter meets a comic book movie.
Sounds about right. One of the things that I want to point out, and this is the first Marvel movie, or excuse me, when I say Marvel movie, I don't mean Marvel Studios. First movie with a Marvel character since Spider-Man 1, where the trailer didn't show the flipbook logo. They showed the logo, but then they showed reality being distorted around. They showed I'm hoping that's just for this. I'm hoping they're not getting rid of that flipbook logo.
Marvel though at Comic-Con did reveal a new whole logo look for their Marvel Studios. There is a video online you can find, and it kind of does one thing. Now, I don't know if they're getting rid of the flipbook thing or not, or
because they were still using the flipbook for the trailers.
Right.
Now, for the actual Marvel Studios movies, they did have it for the phase 2 anyway. They had a different logo, which I'm going to say I don't like, and I haven't liked it. The flipbook one is the perfect one. It's a perfect logo. Why?
I don't know. Maybe
mess with it.
I don't know. Maybe they feel it's time to. It's like anything in marketing.
I'm going to throw some chairs around and throw a big fit. They're getting rid of the logo that I like.
Anyone sees James in the theaters, raincoat and hat, because his popcorn and soda may be flying.
That's kind of how with Thor 2 was the first one where they got rid of the flipbook. And I was like, it set me in a bad mood. Thor 2 is actually a pretty good movie, but it set me in a bad mood for the rest of the movie. I'm not going to lie.
Really?
Yeah, I really like that logo. It's a great logo.
Yeah, they're changing their look, but then again, with anything in business and marketing, I mean, they constantly change. So
the other movies that are they still use that flipbook here and there. I know, they use it on their TV show. Or on their Netflix shows, I should say.
How far have you gotten into Daredevil season 2?
I'm almost done. I
got 2 episodes left.
Yeah, I've got 3, so we're about at the same point.
We'll have to talk about that at some other point.
We will. I didn't binge this one because I've been watching it with my dad. So I haven't because the first one I binge watched and then rewatched with my dad, and he really liked it. So then this one, it's just whenever I go over there, and it's just whenever you have time to watch it. So I've been abstaining it.
I haven't. I'm not a binge watcher. My wife, if she would have had her way, she would have had all 13 of those episodes watched in like less than a week. And for me, it's taken almost 3.5 months to get through it. But
I can be. It just depends. I can be a binge watcher. It just usually though. I gotta say, I've rarely. I don't know if I've ever gotten more than 3 episodes of a show in a day.
The most I can do is like 2 episodes. Because to me, that's like a nice movie length with those Marvel episodes. So I'm good with 2 episodes, but usually I'm just good with 1 most of the time.
I'm gonna say I haven't. Daredevil season 2, where I'm at now, has finally really started picking up. It went through about a 5-episode lull, I thought. All right, I'm just gonna say it. Like, I thought that we already went through the Will Nelson and Murdoch close down on season 1. Like, I don't care about Foggy or Matt arguing at all. Like, we already went through that. Why are we going through this again? Like, and when we went through it the first time, it was kind of annoying, but it still felt real and natural. And now they just like stretched it out for like almost the whole season. And it's like, dude, I don't care at all. So that's been kind of my problem with season 2. But like when it gets going, it gets going. And, you know, they brought back a certain character from season 1.
Yeah.
And once they did that, it was like a sigh of relief. And like when they brought this character back, like that's when the chaos really went through. And I like the 2 new villains, Punisher and Elektra. I like them.
They've been interesting,
but
characters.
they haven't had, their stories have been so confusing. Like, you know, like it's like, why are they what? And like they go kind of back and forth. I really like them as characters.
Would you say second season or first season's been more violent on Daredevil? I'd almost want to say the second season's been more violent in the terms of what you see watching it.
Yeah, although the first season did have Wilson Fisk decapitate a guy with a car door.
Right, but as far
that
as...
was like the shining moment where I was like, okay, this show's going to be really good.
I'm just talking though on a whole overall sense in the season.
You know what's weird is I think season 2 is more violent, but season 1 still had more action, I think. Like, how weird is that?
Yeah.
But, like, there was a scene in season 2 where the Punisher shoots a guy's face off with a shotgun, and...
There's been some scenes I've had to turn my head on.
That's some incredible CGI right there. Because that was one thing, you know, in the old days, you know, you had makeup artists like Tom Savini who, like, somebody gets their head blown off. It's actually a mannequin filled with, like... like tomato juice and spaghetti and all this shit inside their head, and you shoot the head. It's like a ceramic head. You shoot it, you know, you do it fast enough, and that's that.
Right.
This is like nowadays with CGI, like you can like there's no like you're looking right at the guy's face,
and then
it was pretty weird.
There's been some scenes in season 2 that I've actually had as it started. Like I've had to turn my head.
Most of them are with the Punisher though, like or that one where he squeezes that guy's eyeball out, and like that one where he takes a there's been some...
or Elektra coming up behind that one guy, ninja assassin in Murdoch's apartment, and just basically almost takes his entire head off when she cuts his throat.
Yeah, that's right.
That's something I didn't see, and that was like, okay, I don't mind watching blood and guts movies, but there's a certain level to where I have limits as far as keeping my food down.
Yeah, I've kind of liked it, honestly. But like I don't know, like I know Foggy is like he's a classic character. I'm always thinking like, you know, they killed off Phil Ulrich, who is a classic character. It's like fucking kill off Foggy too. Like I'm so tired of him. Like I don't know.
Now I don't know what your opinion is, but do you think at some point, because of where Karen and Murdoch's relationship is, kind of on the outs, as at some point, is he going to have to reveal himself as to who he really is?
Yes. Like, you know,
to resolve that. I guess
that's the thing. It's like,
I mean, are they going to end up having to do that by the end of season 2, or they can continue that in through? Because they have said Daredevil season 3 will.
By the way, like if anybody posts spoilers, I'm not going to read them, so go for it. You know,
because I almost think at some point, in order for Murdoch to make Karen understand where he's at and what he's doing and why he's been acting the way he is, he's almost got to tell her or show her that I am the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
In order for her to understand what he's been doing and why, and until he does, I don't think she's ever going to.
That's always been like the problem with. That's part of the reason why they're like more and more superhero movies are just eschewing the secret identity, at least with friends. Like, you remember, like, Amazing Spider-Man, first thing he does is reveal himself to Gwen Stacy. Which I thought was kind of dumb. But,
well, The Amazing Spider-Man, those two movies had their issues. They could have been better, but
they weren't great. They had a great cast, but they weren't great movies.
No.
You know, and then like there's just even like Superman, like Man of Steel, like Lois Lane finds it, and that's always been always been like the big thing, is like that's always been the big joke, is that she doesn't know. I was actually okay with that. Like,
well, see, what I want to know is, because at the end of Batman versus Superman, which I plan on watching the R-rated 3-hour version here pretty soon, but what I want to know what they're going to do in Justice League, since they technically had 2 funerals at the end of Batman versus Superman, one quote for Clark and one for Superman.
I wonder why they even did that. Did they even? Yeah.
But anyway, obviously Superman's going to be brought back to life at some point by the end of Justice League, which I meant to make mention in my podcast when we were talking about those trailers. As I was talking with Caleb, one who has issues with Iron Man 3, but that's fine.
The movie's 3 years old. We can let it go.
Yeah, okay, we can let it go. He was talking, like, his hopes was, we really don't see them bring Superman back till really the 3rd act of the first Justice League movie. Let it, because he said he'd be really disappointed if Superman's brought back in the 1st act. And then he's like, okay, this is, you guys are just, then why'd you even kill him off in the first place? He really hopes that Superman's not really seen much to the end of the 1st act, end of the 3rd act of the first Justice League movie. But what I was going to say is, I mean, since we didn't really see Superman, I mean, I guess, would you have a problem with them bringing him back too early, or should he be brought back towards the late? And well, besides that, I guess my original thinking is if they bring back Superman, are they going to bring back the Clark character as well? And can they? Without causing a lot of continuity issues or really making it like stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Well, movies have a history of just going straight for stupid. So.
Okay, director aside though, but you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah. No, yeah, I do.
Because to me, instead of showing that Clark was dead in the Batman versus Superman, they just said, well, Clark's off somewhere else, or made an excuse to the paper that he's whatever.
Did you also notice that the trailer wasn't saturated with color?
No, it was toned down.
Yeah, like he always saturates his stuff to make him real dark, but it looked like normal. Like they've got him on a damn leash right now.
I bet you Warner Brothers does have him on a leash. Although, if you read certain things, they say they don't. He says they don't. And
he's on their leash saying no, they don't.
But I'm gonna guess he's got to have some restrictions somewhere.
Yeah,
just a guess.
Like, people really hated.
I mean,
really like. Let's be honest. People really hated not only Batman versus Superman, but Man of Steel also. People really hated that movie too.
Right.
I mean, it's like, if you're gonna keep this guy on, you're gonna have to do some damage control with him, like, because he's just. He's insane.
Now, what we saw of the preview, as I call it, preview teaser trailer in my mind,
it looked good.
It looked good.
Yeah, it did.
It looked good.
It did.
So the character Cyborg looked really good. I liked the little scene with Flash. I'm not sure about his costume at this point. I have to really see it more than just a couple seconds, but he looked all right. I mean, Aquaman's character seems to be interesting.
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of Aquaman, nor have I read much.
He kind of reminds me of, in a way, he does kind of remind me of 90s Aquaman, where they were like, let's make this lame character that everyone hates badass. And that's what they did.
Well, that's fine, because considering the type of tone they're setting with,
I actually like
the first
Aquaman. I don't really get what all that, like he became the butt of everyone's joke.
Well, kind of like in Big Bang Theory.
But the thing is, it's like
they still make him the butt of superhero jokes.
But I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's not just that he can't just talk to fish. Like he has extreme super strength because he lives underwater under a huge amount of pressure. Mm-hmm. So like when he comes out on land, now granted, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but yeah, like he's super strong. So like he's about as strong as maybe Superman. I don't know.
But Daredevil season 2 is definitely been interesting, and I don't remember if they said they were going to give Punisher his own, or that was the talk. But if Daredevil season 2 is this violent with the Punisher, I can only imagine what they're going to do with his own series.
Well,
and do you continue it? I would assume you'd have to continue his story.
And
I'm
fine with them giving him his own series, but they have to learn a lesson from season 2, and that is like, but they kind of did with it what they did with Batman versus Superman. Marvel's also done this before. They try not to, but they've also done it before with Iron Man 2, to much lesser degree with Iron Man 2 and Age of Ultron even, where like they try to set up the next thing already, and they try to set, and it's okay to an extent, but like already in Daredevil, I'm like getting the vibe. It's like, what, like it's okay if they have the story for this one, but it's like, focus on the story first. And I felt with Daredevil season 2, like,
now, if
things were going everywhere.
If you want to drop a small hint somewhere near the end of something to possibly allude to something, that's one thing. But to try and ram something else into the storyline that you're currently doing to make what you want to do later on work, then I think that's where you're going.
It's weird because, like, when they did that with Lord of the Rings, I didn't mind. But, like, I think they're just doing it too much now, and I'm just kind of getting... I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if they do it right, but I think I'm just kind of getting tired of it now.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, Doctor Strange, that's what we were originally talking about, the trailer.
It's amazing how many branches that tree went off on.
Quite a few. Quite a few. The Doctor Strange trailer looks amazing. That special effect of... changing the dimensions of the universe, that's quite something. I mean, you're right, it does look like Inception or Interstellar mixed with Harry Potter, but like one thing, and actually I talked about this on your last podcast, how starting with Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, how every movie waits to let off their big villain until a second movie, and that's a trend now. They're even doing that with
Doctor Strange.
They didn't do that with Thor, thank God, but they're doing that with Doctor Strange.
Who is Doctor Strange's big villain?
Well, his big villain, he kind of has two because they work hand in hand. One is the big one is this being from another universe called Dormammu, and dude, Doctor Strange comics are crazy. And you asked me about what does the
word on that
Shambhala mean, and I'm like, I remember it, but I couldn't tell you what it, because they're weird, and they're really, especially if you get a chance to go back and look at the Ditko years in the early '60s, like they are trippy. But anyway, so Dormammu is a being from another universe who is essentially the embodiment of his entire universe. So he's a living universe. Like, just like ponder that for a second, how weird that is. He is his own universe, essentially, but he also lives in his own universe. If that makes sense, which it doesn't. But yeah, he lives in his own universe, and he is his own universe. But he's trying to come into Earth. Well, the other big villain, the human counterpart that's trying to bring him to our universe, is Baron Mordo, who is in this first movie. He's the black guy. I can't pronounce his name, but he's the black guy in the green. That's Baron Mordo. So he's going to be, and actually I think it's kind of interesting how they're doing it. Like at first I was like, oh, they're doing the same thing that they've been doing since Batman Begins, but it's like, well, this actually looks interesting because he's going to be like Doctor Strange's like best friend or whatever, or his training partner or his mentor, which they do the mentor thing all the time. I get that, but like, you know, it's one of those things. For a whole movie, they're going to be good buddies, and it's what's going to make him change sides. Like, so for the second one, he's going to be a villain, just letting you know. But yeah.
I did a quick search on Google here, and it came up with a bunch of. I typed in the word Shambhala, and it came up with a Shambhala bracelet, and it says here the meaning of this meaning. Let's see. Guide to the meaning of colors in your Shambhala. Black is the absence of any light and is associated with strength, authority, power, elegance, formality, death, evil, and mystery.
Interesting.
So I don't. So they're obviously trying to talk something, but anyway, it didn't give me exactly what I was after yet. I was trying to find what it meant in the Doctor Strange world.
Another thing I want to bring up, we're talking about how China's influence, since the Chinese government decides what they can and can't watch, their influences our movies, as they did with Iron Man 3 and as they did with Ghostbusters. Because Ghostbusters, which actually Ghostbusters was free of it because they don't get to show it over there anyway. But boy, that's a weird concept, isn't it? Like, to have the government say, we don't believe in, or we don't like ghosts, so we're not going to show it to our adult people.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, you know, the other thing is, and people are already mad at, people are calling this, the Ancient One, you see her in the film, and people are in the trailer, and people are already, I did read some social justice warrior bull crap, and you know, I'm as liberal as the next guy, but there's a point where it's like, just shut up. And these people are like, oh, there it is, Hollywood whitewashing again, because in the comics he was a Tibetan monk. Now let's think about this for a second. I know, like, immediate your gut reaction is whitewashing, let's get on the internet and get mad about things, but let's think about this for a second. They want this movie to be viewed, to be allowed to be distributed in China.
Yeah.
China has had a very, let's say, awkward relationship with Tibet, especially the Tibetan monks over the past, you know, decades, but also hundreds of years. Like, I mean, it's been a long, but right now things are kind of iffy. Don't make them Tibetan. Like, that's why they did it, because they want this movie to be shown in China.
Right.
If the Ancient One were Asian or Tibet, or a Tibet character, China would say no, and not let it be shown. Like, that is, like, all you have to do is, like, understand what's going on here. Like, this is not a simple whitewashing, especially since they made,
it's about the bottom line and the kind of money they can make outside the U.S. market, and China's a major player in that.
A, they made the Ancient One female, and B, Baron Mordo was not black in the comics. So, like, I don't see how you can really look at that and say that's whitewashing. It's like, no, it's not. It's, they want to make money in China, so they're going to be as safe as possible.
Right.
So, like, they tried to appease us to appease, like, people by changing the gender, which is fine. Like, that's totally like, who cares?
And Mad Mads Mikkelsen, who's playing the bad guy in this movie, is going to have a busy month because he's in November he's in Doctor Strange, and then in middle of December he's playing part of the rebels in Rogue One.
Really?
So he's going to be in 2 huge movies in 2 months.
Well, he's doing that Hannibal show. I need to watch that because I really like him.
I thought that was canned finally, or is that being picked up on a different?
I don't know. I thought it was just a streaming site.
I don't know.
I thought it was just on Amazon.
I know
Amazon.
I know NBC had it and then canned it. So, but
I think it's on Amazon.
I thought maybe someone else picked it up then.
But yeah, I really liked him in Casino Royale.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's a great villain who gets killed off way too early in the movie, but that's how the book was. The book was weird too. Like they kill him off.
Yeah, see, when I first saw Casino Royale, never have reading the book, I didn't realize.
Same here. I didn't read the book.
And then so when Mr. White comes out, or at least we find out that's who it is, Mr. White, it comes in and shoots him in the head when Lachief's torturing James Bond's balls off. You know, it's like.
By the way, what a great action figure that would be to have. Naked James Bond to a chair, come with a little whip, and you can whip his little balls.
Even with those high dollar statuettes where you have the background of a wall with the chair, and then
that would be
him.
That would be like front and center on my mantle.
I have it autographed by both actors. Yeah, that would be awesome. Disturbing, but awesome.
But anyway, back to that. Yeah, like Baron Mordo in the comics was drawn to look white. Now I think he was actually supposed to be Middle Eastern, but he was the way he was drawn, he always looked white. But it's like, you know, like
and the way I see it is, if you're changing a character because of you want to make sure you make money in certain countries nowadays because you don't want to offend certain aspects of different you know cultures or races or whatever, so long as you don't ruin the essence of the character themselves, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, hell, they could have had a black Joker in The Dark Knight, and if it had been played as well as what Heath Ledger did it, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
who would have cared? Granted, you had a lot of Batman purists upset as hell, but
and I do understand from a racial perspective that there is a lot of whitewashing in Hollywood, but this instant with the Ancient One is not one of those. That is for a totally different reason. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think the guy. I don't know the guy who plays Baron Mordo, but after seeing these trailers, I think he looks really good.
I think Doctor Strange is going to have the same type of. It's going to be looked at, I think, box office wise, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
it's either going to do really well, or it's going to be possibly Marvel's first bomb. But being who's playing in it,
they didn't bomb after Ant-Man, so I don't know. Like Ant-Man did really well,
but I think the one plus side for Doctor Strange is you got Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
and I think that right there is going to anyone who may have been on the edge about going to see it. I think he's going to be the one that's going to push them to go see it.
Yep.
I really think. I mean, I'm going to go see it because I want to keep up with the whole Marvel and where they're going. So, because I want to know when we get to the Infinity War movies, you know, I don't want to miss something because I didn't go see a movie and then be like, well, I don't get how this all came about.
No.
So, I want to keep up with it. So,
just me. It looks really good.
Oh yeah,
it looks really good.
When is the next Marvel movie after this is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Doctor Strange? Yeah, because in May is the Guardians of the Galaxy movie comes out in May. That's right. That's what the next Marvel movie is after this, after Doctor Strange. So I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, we're in Phase 3 now. Phase 3.
And I just read a recent article where Kevin Feige and Marvel haven't announced it. They haven't gotten themselves all firmed up with it, but they have a very good idea of where they're going to be headed for and what movies they're going to be possibly looking at to do in Phase 4, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're with this type of a franchise, you've got to be looking way more ahead than just what's in front of you.
Oh yeah.
In order to keep it going, because you're going to have to figure out, okay, are we going to do this? Because any returning actors or movie characters, you got to make sure you can keep them coming back. Obviously, so.
Well, let's talk about the Star Trek comics. You know, when I came up with this idea, I have like a lot of the comics that I have, I got them as a digital comic that came on a CD-ROM or DVD-ROM, I should say. But I've read some of them. They're interesting. They've gone through a bunch of different publishers, and I thought that the history behind it would be more interesting than it is, but so that's why we're talking about Doctor Strange and Daredevil and everything else beforehand. But yeah, the history's still kind of interesting.
Well, see, I think I don't mean to sidetrack you off your comment.
No, you're okay.
I think that's one thing that Star Trek has been lacking at ever since the original series was even on air, and they started. I don't know when they started writing books or comics for Star Trek. After that, or even during, but this is one. I think this is one place where Star Trek has lacked as far as continuity. They don't have, or even before the story group there at Disney and Lucasfilm now to help keep Star Wars on an even kill, no whatever. Star Wars, even under George Lucas, before that, always made sure no story was overlapping or contradicting another story.
It was Star Trek.
It was all, and it's all
books.
It's all over. So you get some books that have one thing happen in at one point in the timeline, and then you read another book done by another author either before or after, which completely contradicts and then negates what the previous book you read says that happened. So there's never been a continuity either in their comics or their novels that has ever been consistent, and I think that's one place where Star Trek and CBS and Paramount could really quote model themselves after Star Wars and say, okay, all these books other than the movies and TV series are not considered canon, which they don't consider any novels canon anyway. Yeah. And I don't think Paramount and CBS wants to go that route, but getting a little bit more consistency in their novels and comics where they don't contradict everything else that you've ever read would be, I think, a lot helpful in that world.
Well, even Lucasfilms had a continuity for the video games. Now is all that dropped too?
They still keep continuity in the video games, but I don't know how much of the video games Lucasfilm does is considered canon or what.
They were considered canon, and they had a level of different canon. There's A canon, the movies.
Okay.
B canon was the books.
I'm not sure.
C canon,
but I just now know with Disney and their story group they put together after Disney bought them that the books and the movies are all kind of now considered kind of in line with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing books of stories that they probably will never do as movies to help fill in the gaps.
Well, and I mean, like, you and I both kind of think that the new movie kind of drew a little inspiration from some of the books anyway.
Right,
like the idea of their son. Instead of Jason, his name is Ben.
Right.
I mean,
they took the books that are considered no longer officially canon in their Legends series of they're there, you can read them, they're a good thing, but they're no longer considered official of anything Star Wars. And they said, Disney did say when they started doing that, they said they couldn't take ideas or characters from those books and use them. It's just those were no longer considered. And I think there's a rich history in those books that they can draw from without necessarily copying them in a certain sense. But anyway, that I just wanted to make my point there with Star Trek and their books. They've never been consistent in their continuity.
Well, they started a comic in 1967 with Gold Key Comics.
Oh, so they started before the original series was even off the air then?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Cool, okay.
Gold Key Comics, and they published the first Star Trek comics. They published them from 1967 to 1978. They were stylized and diverged from the TV series continuity.
Okay.
There were, let's see, one of the things that's really funny, for the most part, they were all based on original stories. They weren't based on, there were a few, like, I guess they had a sequel to The City on the Edge of Forever and I Mud, but other than that, they were all just original stories.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm surprised they didn't even do on the Tribbles then.
I know, right?
Or Khan or anything like that.
Writers for this included George Cashton, Arnold Drink, and Len Wein, who did a lot of X-Men stuff in the 70s. Huh. Len Wein's pretty interesting.
Now, I know most of the newer...
Actually, Len Wein was... if I remember correctly, Lin Wein was the one who actually created the second genesis of X-Men, the Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Banshee.
The ones we're kind of familiar with
nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always consider that the Chris Claremont days. Chris Claremont took over a few issues after Lin Wein kickstarted it, and Chris Claremont
continued it.
Yes, for almost 20 years, for like 15 years. So we always call them the Chris Claremont days, and Chris Claremont really deserves more credit for X-Men than even Stan Lee does, honestly. But really, as far as like creating the second Genesis, that was actually Lin Wein. Another thing that's really funny is they were illustrated by Alberto Giolitti, who's an Italian artist who had never actually seen the TV show and only had publicity photos to use as references. And he did not have they didn't give him a publicity photo of James Doohan, so for the first several issues, Scotty looks like a totally different character.
Slight oversight on someone's part.
Yeah. Let's see. Gold Key. They ran for 61 issues. They lost the license to Marvel in 1979. But here's where it gets weird. Marvel's license to Star Trek, to Star Trek, as per Paramount's agreement, only allowed Marvel to base their characters, to take characters from the motion picture. They couldn't take characters from the show. So what Marvel did was they more or less made it kind of like as if it were the never produced Star Trek Phase 2, which you talked about on when we did our Star Trek thing. Yeah. So that was Marvel's phase. That was their Star Trek Phase 2. They couldn't take any characters that were on the show that were not on the movie. So they could only take
awful
characters
restrictive.
From the movie. It was. So they pretty much just made up their own stories. They took the characters from the movie, made up their own stories. They couldn't, anything that wasn't any like setting. And I don't know the movie.
So basically, they couldn't use any Klingons then.
No, I guess not. No, no Klingons.
How do you
nothing.
How do you get villains if you can't create new characters?
Right. So they just had to make everything up.
Who the hell was drunk when they made that decision?
That was Paramount. And they lasted until 1981. There were a bunch of comic strips too. I know DC. Okay, DC. DC also did comics based on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. They were mostly, DC did some. I have those too. DC did comics based on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
Which I have those in my little digital thing. But yeah, like it is kind of interesting.
I know several years ago,
and Marvel did Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
I know a couple years ago. I don't remember if it's the people. I think it's the people who do the Doctor Who comics got permission, and they crossed over with the Star Trek characters.
Yeah.
So there's like it's a very limited, like I want to say, 9 issue run at best, maybe 12. It's no more than 12. I don't remember the exact number, but they did I think it was with Matt Smith's character of Doctor Who, and they crossed over with Star Trek, and the people who do Doctor Who had gotten permission and a crossover type of Star Trek thing, and they set it with the Next Generation cast, like on the Enterprise D, like when the show was technically still kind of going on, and they set it in that time frame. And there's a small issue, that very limited run issue they put out, storyline that had, and I guess those comics were highly coveted.
That's interesting.
So something to look up at some future point.
Speaking of, that reminded me of something else. There's also an X-Men Star Trek crossover.
Really?
Yeah, and I had to look it up. Okay, so it's starring the original crew. I was about to say, if it starred the Next Generation characters, that would be so awesome, because they would have two different characters played by
Matt Smith. I think Matt Smith
by Patrick Stewart.
Crossover was with the Next Generation crew.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the X-Men one was done with the original crew. But if it were done with Next Generation, you'd have two different Patrick Stewarts in one comic.
Oh yeah,
how cool would that be?
That would be cool. Yeah. Patrick, you're doing the special movie, but you're going to be playing two major lead roles. And throughout the entire movie, no one puts any comparisons or
no one ever mentions that they look
alike.
Exactly the same. Yeah. That would be funny, actually. But yeah, okay, that's all really interesting. See, you can find interesting things even when you think it's boring. Let's see. So I'm going to bring up that comic. I'm probably not really going to go through it too much. But this is... I haven't actually really read much of it yet. I've been meaning to read more of these Star Trek ones. But I love...
I love the little thing at the bottom of the cover. Trapped in a web of ghostly vengeance.
Yeah.
And who are supposed to be the two people that's supposed to be standing on top of the Enterprise?
I don't know.
It almost looks like it's supposed to be like maybe either Scotty or Bones, maybe? I don't know. Because he's holding a blonde lady's hand. It doesn't seem like it'd be Kirk. It's just from the cover.
Let's just scroll up real quick and look at it.
It's just from glancing at the cover. Hell, it could be Kirk as well. I don't know.
But see, I have trouble telling who's who in a lot of these in this whole issue. Boy, who knows? I don't know who that.
Or it's just
probably Kirk
or two random crew members that are going to get off later. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Let's see. So let's go to it. I do like on the first page. Let's see. Captain's log, stardate 7641.8. En route to R&R on Starbase 81. On Starbase 8, the Enterprise has encountered the Federation starship Endeavour, adrift 1/2 parsec from her last reported position. Here in the Theta Iridiani system. Since she was officially listed as missing in action roughly 22 solar years ago, the Endeavor's fate has been among the most baffling mysteries in the Starfleet's annals.
Now, looking at this picture, it looks like the Endeavor here, the drawing of the Endeavor, is phased half lodged into an asteroid.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, there is an episode in season 7 of Next Generation where they go looking for a starship by the name of Pegasus that supposedly Riker served on at one time before. That they were testing a new variant of a cloaking device that they shouldn't have been, and it exploded, or at least they thought it exploded, and it turned out it just phased into this rock. So
weird.
Half the ship's in the rock and half the ship's sitting in the cavern inside this asteroid.
Weird.
So I see that picture and I'm thinking, did someone draw inspiration to write that episode from this comic or something? Because that's what it looks like.
I'll tell you what, they did a really good job drawing Spock.
Yeah, I was going to mention something about that.
Kirk doesn't look too good. He looks like crap.
Maybe he got his shirt ripped again. I don't know.
Actually, Sulu looks good too.
What page are you on that?
This will be page 3.
Page 3. Okay.
Yeah, Sulu looks good too. See, basically, this Endeavor, it's shooting at them, and Spock tells them that, most unusual, I'm getting no life form readings from Endeavor. There is no living being aboard. Then how is she maneuvering? Unknown, sir. It basically sounds like the plot of every Star Trek episode in the 60s. Like, they see a ship and they're like, how's it moving? There's nothing alive on there. Like,
Yeah.
I think they do that about every other episode. So then they, like, look at the ship, blah, blah,
And
blah.
of course, their spacesuits that they're in on page 5 or 6 or whatever look exactly almost like the ones they were born in
the movie.
in this couple of the shows from the original
really?
series.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so if this was done anywhere in the 60s, then that would be why.
This was actually done in 79.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks like one of the suits from one of the episodes from the original series. Huh.
Probably drew inspiration from that.
Probably.
But yeah, this redheaded chick, I don't know what her deal is. She keeps getting in arguments with Kirk. Let's see.
Of course, one thing about these older comics, it's always fun to go through and look and see some of the old advertisements
Yes.
and offers they're offering in these comics.
That's actually my favorite thing about going through them was actually reading the ads.
And to celebrate Marvel Comics
20th anniversary. Man, they were so young.
And it says in full color, 1981 calendar. And it's like, holy.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old in 81.
Yeah. They were so young. 20 years. Like, that was, yeah, because I don't know, when was Fantastic? Was that 61 or 62?
Marvel Comics 1981 calendar, $4.95 each. Enclosed is Dead for. That's funny.
Man, if I could find that on eBay, I'd buy it. Like, that's really cool.
Now, some of the white uniform looks almost something like Kirk was wearing in the motion picture.
Yeah, and that makes sense because they kind of had to make things more like the motion picture. I hate those white uniforms, by the way. They're so weird. It looks like they're like in long underwear or something. It's just weird.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Those uniforms they created for well, see, the motion picture is technically supposed to be set a year and a half after their 5-year mission was completed.
Yeah, right.
So even though they're doing this movie 10 years after the original show ended, they've only really technically advanced themselves maybe 2-3 years after the show would have been ended, theoretically. So you really didn't move much into time-wise ahead. And that's why there's such a big jump when you get to Wrath of Khan, because they decided when they hit Wrath of Khan, they decided they jumped it up more to where they really should be.
Yeah.
In that time frame of instead of being only just a couple years from end of the original series, it's now like 15, which is more realistic. So that's why there's such a big time frame jump in between motion picture and Wrath of Khan, at least in the world of the movies.
One of these days, I'm going to rewatch all of them, even the ones that suck. Like
I kind of did that in a weird way, although I didn't watch the motion picture. I kind of jumped around though. I started by watching Khan, and then I went and I kind of did the trilogy thing. I did Khan, and then I did Search for Spock, and then I did the Voyage Home, and then I skipped up and I watched First Contact. And then that's about the time you were watching Insurrection.
Yeah, for the first time.
So after having that little text back and forth with you about, oh my God, I ended up next night watching Insurrection.
They were,
and then
there's this scene in Insurrection, by the way, where they start singing Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah,
and it's like
with Worf, and
it's like man.
Well, there's a little,
and I was just like, why do people think Star Trek is lame? Why?
There's a little thing there. If you watch, I think it's on the special features or just some interviews I've seen, that Michael Dorn, when he was having to sing a song from that Gilbert and Sullivan with Captain Picard, he tried to get the director and producer to say, I think Worf should really sing it badly, since he's a Klingon, not supposedly being familiar with it. He should sing it badly, but they wouldn't let him do that. He wanted to kind of sound really off key in comparison to Patrick Stewart and Data, and they wouldn't let him do that. He thought that would be kind of a funny kind of being Worf. And it'd be, everyone think
it makes sense
because it being Worf, it'd be funny, and I think it would have
Michael Dorn is pretty funny. There was a South Park where it was an episode where the kids had stolen all the veal calves because they didn't want them turned into veal, so they stole them from the local farmers and hid them in the room, and they're basically little terrorists, and they're negotiating with the guy, and they're like, we want Michael Dorn to come over here with a truck and drive us out of here. And Michael Dorn drives him, and he's like, why did you have me come here? He's like, say it like Worf would say it. But what was funny was, in South Park, they use celebrity voice actors rarely. Like it's maybe once a year.
It's more of like a parody of the voice actors.
Usually.
Yeah.
And this one, they didn't use him, but they didn't really parody him. It was just they just kind of straight up did it. And I guess Michael Dorn was a huge South Park fan, and he saw it and he called them up. He was like, hey, next time you guys do that, just have me come down. Don't even pay me. Which is cool. Really funny.
That's cool. Did you catch the little joke though before they started singing? When Picard's in the shuttle with Worf, and he goes, Worf, are you familiar with Gilbert and Sullivan? Sorry, sir, I have not gotten a chance to know all the new crew members since I've come aboard.
Yeah, that's right.
Worf, they're composers. Oh.
Those movies also, because it's, what's Riker's name in real life?
Jonathan Frakes.
He directed that and also First Contact, right?
Yes.
And that cracks me up because in those movies, he's so badass, and he's the only one that has sex with anyone, and it's come on, I know what's going on here.
Well, as TV as Insurrection is, it's got some pretty good lighthearted moments in that movie, especially the part with Data, when Data and Picard return to the Enterprise, and by this time Riker's gotten his beard all shaved off by the Counselor Troy, and he walks up past Data, and Data notices, and he's smooth as the android's bottom, eh, Data?
Yeah. And
then at the end of that whole conversation, Data's like, sir, may I? And he feels it and just kind of shakes his head no and walks off. That always cracks me up.
Okay, let's look at let's scroll down to page, if I can read it. If they have page numbers. Hold on just a sec. Seems like they just stopped using page numbers halfway through. Well, they marked them up. Well, scroll down to the part where it's Sulu and someone else. I can't tell who it is. They're in an ice cave fighting a big red monster. Oh. Look at that. That is straight from... I swear, that is exactly
That is. That's what.
And I'm going to be sure when I edit this, I'm going to show this picture online.
That looks like the ice monster from Star Trek 2009 movie when Kirk runs away from it.
How crazy is that?
Wow.
That is exactly like it. I mean, it could be a coincidence, but I'm guessing somebody read these comics when they...
Or someone had a knowledge of this comic and was like, hey, I saw this this would be perfect.
Because it's in the snow, just like
Does
that.
It say what
it
planet?
Looks just like it.
Does it say what planet they're on?
Oh, let's see.
Because that would be interesting if... Find out what planet Kirk got dumped on in that movie.
It's called Mycena.
Huh.
Mycena.
I'll have to go back and watch that little scene then on Star Trek, in the 2009 Star Trek movie, because I know they say the name of the planet. Because Kirk asks, "Where am I at?" and the computer voice there tells him.
Dude, if that is it, this would be the craziest.
No. In the movie, I think this computer voice says they're on Vega or something like that.
That does,
Delta Vega
sounds right.
No, I don't know. But anyway, I don't think it's the same name. But that creature looks
exactly like it.
Yes, it does.
Exactly like it. It is the exact same thing. That's cool.
That is cool and weird at the same time.
Yeah, somebody read this comic. Somebody who was
familiar with the
movie,
comics, yeah. Or they're either that, or someone's
or it's just a crazy coincidence.
Or someone's like, "Hey, you guys are looking for an idea for this creature."
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Look here.
Yeah, because there's no way that's a coincidence. That is exactly like it.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. That is. I'm so glad we did this. Like, I'm not really paying attention to the plot. I'm just looking at the pretty pictures. But like,
I'll have to look up and see if if there's anything online about the USS Endeavour on the official Star Trek thing about the different ships. Because I noticed on here on one of the pages, it shows like the side of a shuttlecraft or something like that. And it has the number for the Endeavour, NCC 1705.
interesting.
I'll have to see if that's actually correct or not.
I'm probably gonna read all of these. This is pretty darn cool. Yeah, NCC 1705.
So,
man, that's just something else about that ice monster. Like, that is so cool.
I may have to put a copy of this picture out and then grab a screen grab of the movie and put it on Facebook. And
definitely.
Say, hey, look familiar?
Yeah.
So
that's something else. Yeah, and this is from issue 9 from Marvel's run. Let's see. So yeah, that was totally worth just grabbing a random Star Trek issue. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. If you can scroll up,
I found the letters here.
The letters. Okay, I'm gonna find them real quick. Okay, so we're gonna read some letters. Now this is just given the boring title, Star Trek: The Letters page. But
you think they could come at something a little bit more Star Trek-y?
Yeah, like
fans log or
oh, that's pretty good. Fans log or
whatever. Who knows?
Live long and I don't know. Live long and postage. I don't know, something like that. Writer malfunction in the letter column of Star Trek
number 5.
I replied to a letter with the comment, what gives you the idea that the Federation has signed a peace treaty with the Klingons? Oh, so I guess they can use the Klingons?
I guess.
I don't know how that works.
And of course, this is before they really made mention that this is before Next Generation's time where they had made peace with the Klingons.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
In no time at all, a cargo hold full of letters came in stating that there is indeed such a treaty as established in the TV episode Errand of Mercy. Since I've seen the TV episode in question a number of times, my memory tape was apparently erased when I wrote off the offending sentence, and my face is redder than the sands of Mars. Anyway, the following crewmen are recommended for Starfleet citation for research: Becky Bokovin, Dave Davis, Mike Gardner, Bob Johnson, Andrew Landbacker, Arn Asley Parker, and Daniel Wolpe. I'd say that I'd stay and chat longer, but Captain Louis Jones says my next dish of crow is fresh from the food processors, and I'd better eat it while it's good and hot. Live long and prosper. Mike W. Barr.
Huh.
Let me read the next one. Gentlemen, I have just finished reading Star Trek number 5. Needless to say, I'm close to a state of perfect bliss. After reading Star Trek issue 4, I was very disappointed with the artwork. There was, however, a remarkable improvement in issue 5. It must be true then. Familiarity breeds content. I'm sure Dave, Klaus, and Carl will only improve with each issue. As a special thanks must go to Mike Barr for his attention to details. Hey, that's the guy that wrote this one. They must only have like a couple guys writing into these. Jesus. To Mike Barr for his attention to detail. Example, the Enterprise dropped the Klingon through the enhancer. Ray tags body and the archivist off the Starbase 16, which happens to be the closest starbase. Keep up the fascinating work, fellows, and as always, make mine marvel. And that's from C.S. Abbott from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We'll do our best to maintain the quality, C.S., but I have to transfer your compliment about us to Starbase 16 to Dauntless Dave Cockrum, whose idea it was. Dave Cockrum did a lot of art for X-Men also. I'll give you the next one.
Okay, Dear Marvel, Star Trek number 5, without a doubt, the best issue yet. Cockrum's art is rapidly improving, and Mike Barr seems well suited to the book. I especially enjoyed the use of a zip tone and spacey coloring on page 2 and 17, and just about everywhere else. This process is not used nearly enough in other comics. Yours till the Klingons start buying toupees. Oh my God.
What?
Graham Tushy of Moncton, Nebraska? Is that it?
Yeah. Well, no, that would be
NB?
New Brunswick.
Oh, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Okay, here's the deal.
Well, might
NB, it could be Nebraska because there was a time when Nebraska used to be NB, and now it's NE, but I don't know when they made the switch. They switched it because it was really confusing for people who were also trying to mail stuff to New Brunswick.
Gotcha.
But, so I don't know. It could be Nebraska, or it just depends on when. I don't know when the switch was made.
Penciler Dave Cochran and inker Klaus Janson are responsible for the large number of colors holds used in Star Trek comic color. Color holds occur when the black palette that normally holds the color is removed. That's why comic book characters always have a black line around them. The result is the effect used for transparent transporter and phasers. It's extra work, but it looks terrific and is much appreciated. MWB.
Huh, that's pretty interesting, actually. Marvel Men. I'm afraid it's no prize time. Did I ever tell you what no prize means? That was something that Enrique and I talked about a lot.
No.
The no prize, that was something that Stan Lee started. And his thing was if somebody caught a mistake or something, he'd send them a no prize.
Oh, wow.
Which would be something in the mail, and it was just like some piece of like Marvel memorabilia, but he called it a no prize. He's like, well, this no prize winner gets this, and here's your no prize for the month, and it's pretty funny. And I love how like 20 years later they're still doing it. I don't know when they stopped, but I'm afraid it's no prize time. In issue 5, page 30, last frame, the caption reads, "There's a rush of color as warp speed is achieved, then a deafening thunderclap. The mistake? There is no sound in space because there is no air." Aside from the error, the issue was great. Mike Barr's story was original. I hope they stay that way, and interesting. Dave Cockrum and Klaus Johnson's art has been surprisingly good, though I'd love to see Dave and Terry Austin team up for an issue. And that's from Joe Sachs from Aromos, California. Sorry, Joe, and to Jeremy Elliott of Berkeley, California, who pointed out the same mistake. But that's not an error. Yes, we know that there's no sound in space technically, but we included the caption for the same reason they put the deafening thunderclap in movies. Dramatic license. Wow, that is the biggest bullshit answer I've ever heard. Having lived our lives in an atmosphere, we are conditioned to hearing loud noises when something big takes off, and we decided not to discard a good thing. This is the same reason that sound effects were added to the opening titles of the Star Trek TV show. So even though in space no one hears you scream, nice, that's not always true in movies or in comic book stories that are supposed to take place in space. Man, that's kind of BS, but yeah, that's the way it is. All right.
Dear Mike, Dave, and Klaus, it may have taken me a long time to develop a taste for the sophisticated sci-fi series Star Trek, but this is a good sign to me, since in many cases, instant gratification has usually resulted in short-term enjoyment. Clearly, the appeal of Star Trek, the comic book, provides enough impetus, I guess, to carry the series into the 23rd century and beyond, until the Enterprise meets Seaview. Jerry, Lowndes? Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Oh, Scranton. And he must make paper now. By the way, do you know what Seaview is? Because I don't.
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have no
There
clue
we
what
go.
the hell he's talking about. Well, since we got no plans to adapt adapt the series Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, much less to do a Star Trek crossover, it looks like you're a prisoner, Jeff. We hope your sentence in our brig is a long and happy one.
That's pretty weird.
Okay.
Gentlemen, in regards to your statement about adapting the TV episodes, original or animated, it seems some of us are being misunderstood. I know most of the letters you guys get aren't printed, and a lot may actually be asking for adaptations, but the letters you printed thus far are asking for extensions or sequels, not adaptations of the series. Several of us Star Trek fans would like to know things like, did the Federation ever straighten out that little hassle with Gorns? How is the colony on Janus 6 doing? What new swindles has Harry Mudd cooked up? These are the kind of stories we'd like to see, and they would be all new. Think about it. That's from Kenneth Blackledge. No address given. What do you have to hide, Kenneth? About all we can do is think about it, Ken. We received a lot of letters like yours, so we'd better state our policy again. Marvel has... Okay, we're going to hear it now. Marvel has the rights to do Star Trek comics utilizing only the concepts and characters from the movie. That means not only can we not do adaptations, but we can't even do sequels, since a sequel to a TV episode would, by its very nature, utilize at least the basic concepts of the TV episodes it was sequeling. Still, it's a big universe out there, and there are a lot of concepts that we haven't even touched yet. We just hope we can live up to the challenge. MWB. So there you go. I'm not sure how they got the Klingon thing in, but I don't know. In the movie, do they mention the word Klingon?
Well, there is a little bit of the Klingons right at the beginning where they get destroyed by V'ger, but that's it.
Okay, that's enough. They were mentioned in there. That's enough to get it going, I guess. Interesting.
Did you see the Mighty Marvel checklist? Did you read through any of that?
Yeah.
There's one down here in the third row over. It says Star Wars number 42, Part 4 of The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. I have those Star Wars comics, too.
Master of Kung Fu number 95.
Master of Kung Fu. Okay. There was an issue of Spider-Man I had from this era.
And the very last one over
here.
here.
Fought the Master of Kung Fu.
The very last one over here. Howard the Duck number 8.
Let's see. Howard and Bev face the Gray Panther. Plus... Marshall Rogers Duckman, a righteous spoof of our distinguished competitors,
Cape Crusader.
That's funny.
It's interesting.
Oh, Howard the Duck. Man, yeah, I do love the Marvel's checklist. They don't do stuff like this anymore. That's kind of why, comics just aren't, fun like they used to be. There used to be, a lot of fun.
Whimsy to them.
Yeah.
Now they're serious. Big business.
Although I did do you remember that Deadpool one we did? I really like that. Yeah. That one was funny.
I wonder how much the comics nowadays are made more for the collector than they are for the average reader.
Mostly. I don't think they make that much money.
I think it's a dying. I think paper wise, I don't think they make as much money off them anymore as what they used to.
No.
I think they're big. I think they'd rather see you buy it digitally and cost them less. I mean, because I'm sure they probably make more from just doing it that way than they do, or buy it both ways.
Oh yeah.
The more you can buy, the better off they'll be. But something that would be lost though if they stopped ever printing them. That would be a lost art though.
Yeah.
I mean, and they only did it digitally. That'd be something lost.
Well, we're probably going to lose a lot of art forms as technology grows. I mean, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll end on that. Is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I had something I was going to bring up later, but I don't remember what that was right now. And so,
was it how awesome Zachary Quinto was in Star Trek Beyond? We did a review of that on Reggie's show, and I just want to say, I mean, when I was done, I looked at I saw it with a friend, and I looked at him, and he asked me, he was like, "Did you like it?" I was like, "I loved it."
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I mean, I do think it's the best. It's the best of the new Star Trek movies.
I think the best thing for the future of Star Trek, at least the movie franchise part of it right now, is they need fresh blood in director chairs.
Yeah.
Get someone fresh, get a fresh take on it. I mean, continue down the path that they're working on with Beyond, but I think Abrams did a nice job with trying to get it rebooted again. If his Bad Robot Company stays in it as producers and that kind of stuff, that's fine. But I think Abrams just needs to stay away from the director chair again. I just think let other people do it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you even want to give this Justin Lin a crack at it again. I don't know if
right.
I mean, do you really want to do that, or do you want to bring in somebody else? It all depends on, I guess, how much Paramount has liked what he's done and what the cast thought of him, and what his vision is with Star Trek. Yeah. So. Of course, I don't know if this is so much his vision, although I guess he did have some influence on it with Simon Pegg. But I think...
Yeah, this is really Simon Pegg's movie.
Yeah, this is really because Paramount... I guess they had a script for the third one, but Paramount didn't like it or something was about it, and they asked Simon Pegg to take a shot at it, and so he completely started from scratch again. And of course he had a lot shorter time, because the time he got it, they didn't change their start date as when they were going to start filming, so he only had like 4 months or so to write this movie.
I want to say another thing against the haters on these Star Trek movies is remember the sin of all sins was the Star Trek trailer, which showed a bunch of action and Beastie Boys. And I remember seeing that trailer. I was like, huh, that's weird. And I was like, well, it didn't tell me what it's about. That's all I want. That's really what I want a trailer to do. I don't want it to reveal but apparently, like, everyone just went nuts
on that trailer.
And the best part is they used that song in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And they used it in such a smart way. Like, they use it in such an awesome way and such a smart way, like having it radio transmission to those other ships to mess up their swarming capabilities.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that has got to be the biggest middle finger to every whiny blogger or every whiny commenter that's had a problem with that. It's like, it was really good.
Because I believe that's the same music that played when quote, young Kirk was in the Corvette.
It is the same one. It is the same one. I don't know why they chose Beastie Boys' "Sabotage" to be like the theme song of Star Trek, but whatever. Like, I
don't know if it's necessarily the theme song of Star Trek. I think it's more or less the Kirk character.
The Kirk, yeah.
I think that's what it really is.
Still kind of weird, but I like it. I also like they did. They also had a Public Enemy. She was listening to Public Enemy.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Now they're going to go ahead and do Star Trek 4, and they're going to bring back Chris Hemsworth as George Kirk, and I'm guessing it has to be in some sort of time travel movie.
Could be a time travel, or he could be some like shape-shifting alien or god too.
Who knows?
It's hard to say.
But if it is a time travel thing, whether it's George Kirk coming forward somehow, or the current crew going backwards in time, I'm going to say this again, like I said after the first movie, after I said Into Darkness, and I'm going to say it again after this movie. I want to see Klingons as the bad guy in this, in the fourth movie.
It's weird that they've really avoided the Klingons.
And the only time you've seen Klingons was a very brief little scene in Into Darkness.
Did they even show them? I don't remember.
Yes, they did.
Did they?
Yes, okay. And a lot of people complained about how they looked, that they did the look for him in Star Trek Into Dark.
It's been a while since
it's the radical. I'll have to show you off after the podcast, but it's a different change. I think it's fine. It still has the Klingon-esque look. It's just a radical, not what you're used to look Klingon. But I want to see Klingons as a bad guy in a Star Trek movie with Kirk, and I want to see this Kirk. Granted, they don't have to make this Kirk hate Klingons, but that's what made the original series with the original cast and the original movie so fun to watch, was Kirk hated the Klingons and Klingons hated Kirk.
Yeah.
I want to see Klingons in this series, even if it's just for one movie, and that's all we get. I want to see Klingons as bad guys.
I do too.
Because that's like remaking Star Wars and never seeing the Empire or Darth Vader as it's just like, where's the iconic villain? Yeah. I mean, just as much as you could say they took the easy route out and Into Darkness and brought Khan as the villain. Well, I'd say the greater big villain, at least in the original cast or crew would be the Klingons.
Yeah.
And so far they've avoided that.
Yeah.
So if you want to say they really haven't done their big villain yet in this new Star Trek franchise, but I want to see Klingons.
I really want to go back and watch. I haven't seen Into Darkness in quite a while. I want to go back.
I don't want to see any more Romulans. I don't want to see any more upset.
Like you're like, I'm done with Romulans.
I don't want to see any Romulans. I want to see Klingons in this next movie as the
What's
bad guy.
the deal with the Romulans? All this,
I don't know.
Are they so?
Because
I always thought, weren't they kind of boring?
Because
villains?
Romulans was the villains in Nemesis, and then you got Romulans with the 2009 Star Trek movie. So you went 2 movies in a row where you had Romulans as the bad guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you had Khan again. Now we've had a completely new character, Krall, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I want to see Klingons.
Yeah.
It's time to bring the Klingons. Maybe I need to start a Facebook petition. Star Trek 4 better have Klingons. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to listen to me anyway, but that's what I want.
Not true.
That's what I want to see.
People listen to you, Reggie. People listen.
If that was the case, my website and my podcast would have a lot more.
Well, only a few people listen, but people still listen.
Yes, and have you gotten your check this month?
No.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Hey, that's all right, though. That's all right. Well,
we do it because we love to.
Yes. Yes, that's what it is. Actually, that is what it is. The next movie better have Klingons. Can you speak Klingon, Reggie?
Just just one little thing, and it's only from Star Trek 6.
All right,
at the dinner table. Oh God, I don't believe I'm doing this. It's from the dinner table with General Chang.
Okay,
and they're talking about well, you haven't heard Shakespeare until you've heard it in its original Klingon form. Tak Bek, Tak Bay. That's it. I'm done. And if I see this on the clip of Facebook.
Well, there you go, everyone.
The war's on.
There you go. There you go. All right.
The only thing else I wish I knew how to say in Klingon, it would be Worse. Today is a good day to die, because I think that'd be kind of fun to say in Klingon.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
I think that would be a fun thing to say in Klingon, but anyway, that's beside the point.
Well, you could either speak Klingon or Elven at this point, but I don't know which one would be nerdier.
And if you're single, speaking Klingon will not get you laid.
Really? Huh. So that shouldn't be a hobby I get into. Well, anyway, we're going to call it good. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is The True Believers. Be sure to check out reggiestakes.com. Live long and prosper.